Most authoritative voice on politics, Swaminathan Aiyar, who is the consulting editor at ET Now. Good morning, Swami sir. Thank you for joining us this morning. The growth now needs a push, but should it come at a cost of a minor slippage in the fisc? How should the new government now balance the growth and the fisc as well?
The new government should not be fixated on the immediate short term. Mr. Modi has got a huge mandate for deep-seated reforms for a 5-year period. And I think the emphasis must be on the 5-year period rather than the immediate reforms. There has already been an interim budget. There will be another final budget. You can make some way for a fiscal boost. But I would say, the idea that every time there is a fall in auto sales, the government is obliged to somehow pump up the economy, that is a mistake. Some people call it anti-cyclical. In fact, I think it's very, very clear that there is the Western concept of a business cycle does not apply to us. So yes, the Reserve Bank needs to be sure there is sufficient liquidity out there. But at the same time, I would say that if the government is going to spend more, this should only happen if there is an agreement with the RBI on the transfer of reserves. The Bimal Jalan committee is going to go into the matter of, does the RBI have excess reserves that can be transferred? And some of those estimates are huge. So if those reserves are available, that can certainly be used to boost the economy. But that is not what I call a reform or a priority. The more important thing is in the long term, we have a situation, we have been achieving our in the first place, you have not achieved your fiscal targets because your fiscal deficit was down to be 3.0% within 3 years of Mr. Jaitley coming, and hasn't happened after almost 6 years. And even then, there has been so much jugglery of various kinds to artificially try and pretend the fiscal problem is not there. So, we need to have a much more long-term approach and say fiscal deficits are crowding out private investment. This is leading to high real interest rates. This is a fundamental problem on our export competitiveness in inducing industry. So these are the emphasis must not be on how do you have a quick fiscal boost to increase spending. Rather, let us focus on long-term ways of reforming our spending patterns, our subsidy patterns, to make sure that we have a much better fiscal situation which enables interest rates to come down and provides a long-term basis for growth and prosperity.
Swami said the investors now want land and labour reforms despite the strong mandate that Modi government got in the previous 5 years. They couldn't do it. What are the chances or rather possibility that Modi 2.0 can do that?
No, the private sector is not putting money into investment because it doesn't see the surge of demand. It doesn't see a surge of demand because, in the first place, no country in the world has done rapid growth without a boom in exports of 15% plus. Our exports have more or less been stagnant for 5 years. If exports remain stagnant, there is no way that there is going to be a surge in demand, and hence there is no way that people are going to invest, nor should they invest. So we need to create a situation where exports can flourish. What does that mean? Now our land is expensive compared to our neighbors. Our labor, because of our labor laws, is expensive compared to our neighbors. Our capital is expensive. Our real interest rates are among the highest in the world. So if you cannot get these three down, you are not going to get exports up. If you can't get exports up, there is going to be no need for fresh capacity. Without fresh capacity, there will be no investment. So I said, let us get the priorities right. Get your factors of production competitive, and then the economy will take care of itself. We don't require constant government fiddling to put in additional impetus here, additional impetus there, just in terms of the fiscal or monetary policy.
Swami said the legal reforms, that too needs attention, especially on the judiciary front. How can the new government address that legal reform factor?
This is one of the most important reforms that we need. One of the things required for rapid development is what they call public goods. And there are no good public goods more important than a police that is efficient, fast, and is able to catch people, and a judiciary that has quick processes, that is quickly able to convict people, and you don't get cases dragging on for 10 years, 15 years, 20 years. So if you do not have a police judicial system that works, then on the one hand there is no justice and redress for those who need it. It also means that, the cornerstone of a market economy is enforcement of contract. And if enforcement contract still in India takes 4 years, 5 years, it carries on and on and on. We are desperately in need of such long-term reforms to become competitive with the rest of the world. We have had a certain amount of success in the last 10, 15 years in catch-up. Now we need to get better and stronger institutions. Those better and stronger institutions must include a police judicial system that is honest, that is competent, and that is fast.
Thank you, Swami sir, for joining us this morning, giving us your take on what should be government's next agenda. That's Swaminathan Aiyar, who is the consulting editor at ET Now, stating that land, labour as well as legal reforms should be on government's top agenda.